So it is not a whole lot compared to what we need, but it's a first step, definitely. It sounds like a lot, it would be a lot for Letretage, but it's a huge scene. And they're willing to dedicate more state-owned buildings to cultural purposes. Nächstes. The summary, gleich die nächste. These are my conclusions up to this point. Acknowledge that what you do may be not only art but also work. It is alright to earn money with it at some stage. As soon as your projects get funded, you are part of a public sphere, whether you like it or not. It takes time and energy to engage in this kind of political activity. You have to be very patient, but it's worth it. It helps to share experiences across branches, especially since other art branches are often better organized and more involved in political processes than literature. Dare to talk to the administration and politicians. They may not be as hostile as you expect. They may actually listen to you. They may even be helpful and or on your side. Never work against anyone or anything, but for something. Connect to as many people and interest groups as possible and include their views. Stick to it. Political changes come about slow. My last remark at this topic is that crowd, I think, can be a first step towards transferring this kind of political and networking activity to a European level. All right, now to something completely different, but not quite as different.
It's the slideshow.
Yes, it's the slideshow.
Okay.
While talking, I'll just show you some impressions of sound out new ways of presenting literature. The project had two main goals, main aims. One was international networking, also as a first step towards the Crowd project, getting to know people, getting to involve people, and so on. The second is questioning and amending the traditional German Literaturhausmaße. Bin wahrscheinlich schon ein bisschen spät dran, aber es geht noch weiter. To sound out, for those who don't know what it means, means using an echo sounder, like ships do that when they're trying to look down. Ausloten. The title underlines the explorative character of the project. The question was an open question to ourselves too. How can literature be presented beyond the so-called water glass reading? The project was financed by Stiftung Deutsche Klassenlotterie Berlin. It was the largest project we had done so far. To get things going, we tendered an award and spread out our call for proposals throughout Europe over cultural institutions, networks, and European CCPs. Tendering an award was a new field for us, proved to be helpful when talking to the media. Possibly it contributed to the huge number of applications. The response was overwhelming. Obviously everyone was thinking about the same issues. In the end we got 106 applications from most European countries. I think it was 35 countries or something like that. Not only the quantity was excellent, but also the quality. We would have liked to invite at least 75% of the applicants. Initially we had planned to realize 7 projects. The structure of the applications, especially those who were shortlisted, were smaller scale, less expensive than we had expected. That opened the possibility to invite even more projects, even though this made things much more complicated for us. We ended up with more than 20 single events within 8 days. Also, we wanted to alter the usual festival business by inviting everyone to stay for the entire duration of the festival. Everyone was anxious to see what everyone else was doing. And this way we triggered a real exchange rather than having people just drop their event and leave again. The chance to stay together as a group for about a week proved to be a great idea in order to really get to know each other and to sustain the possibility of future cooperation. The invitation was to propose a project presenting, using, or producing literature in a different way than usual. One was allowed to do anything. The only condition was that literature was supposed to remain the primary focus. We didn't set a budget limit. That complicated things additionally, but some people very well understood our point. First of all, the project had to make sense. A really good project would find its money. But the relation between invested money and poetical gain had to be reasonable. Here's what we got, to name only a few. A crazy guy translating poems into objects and letting the audience translate them back. The same guy talking to ancient Greek singer Sappho over a Ouija board later on. Another crazy guy writing money poems on 20 euro bills and circulating them. A crazy girl organizing a submarine reading in a spa. A poetry machine making the audience write their own poems. An anthology of the tree in the middle of the forest that could be found only over geographic coordinates. Lots of interdisciplinary and intermediate events involving random processes, involving the audience in various ways, involving visual arts, art exhibitions, involving sound, poetic installations and performances. Some of the applications that we weren't able to invite were based on rebuilding the Berlin Wall or writing on the Spree River with fluorescent bacteria. More details on the various projects you find in our program documentation brochures, which are outside. Not this one. That's the program and this is the documentation. Did we find a definite answer to our initial question? Did we revolutionize the Literaturhaus? Of course not. But what we found was a huge space of new possibilities. A space that opened for us as well as for the literary activists all over Europe. That's why we considered the project a success. It was obvious that we met a need by many artists across Europe who had been working interdisciplinary for a long time and who didn't consider themselves as mere poets or writers anymore. It seems that we met a gap in the international literary event calendar. Our intention is to sustain this fruitful model and to repeat Soundout in one of the next years. Thank you.
Well, I will just start with